But there's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back, so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
What would the world look like if George Carlin's big club was run by Satanists? And by Satanists, I mean people who believe in God but hate everything God stands for and are actively dedicated to inverting, corrupting and destroying that which reflects God in the world. That is, the good, the true and the beautiful. Which is why their favourite activity is raping, torturing and sacrificing children whose innocence is the purest representation of the good, the true and the beautiful in our world. So I ask again, what do you think the world would look like if the big club was run by these kinds of people? In this video, I'm going to show you.
Please, for the love of God, do not.
But before I do that, I have to address the cognitive dissonance that arises in the mind of the uninitiated, that is, those who haven't had direct experience of the satanic nature of the powers that be, when they hear this claim.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
We live in a world in which the richest, most powerful people in politics, finance, business, entertainment, the police, the military and the judiciary have been shown to be friends and clients of Jeffrey Epstein, the world's most notorious child sex trafficker, paedophile and baby blood drinker.
That's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
And we live in a world where the British royal family, including the current king, were best buddies with Sir Jimmy Savile, Britain's most prolific child rapist, whose crimes were covered up for decades by the British Broadcasting Company, also known affectionately as good old Auntie Beeb.
These ain't opinions, these are facts.
These two extensively documented, proven facts alone mean that you cannot simply dismiss the possibility that the powers that be of this world are indeed Satanists.
Fuck.
So I ask the uninitiated to put your cognitive dissonance on hold for the next few minutes by watching this video with an open mind and saving any conclusions you might come to until you have seen all the evidence it presents.
That is not going to happen.
Thank you very much. Let's get into this.
that after people. It has nothing to do whether or not it's effective. We know it's highly effective. Highly effective.
Gordon, you okay?
Oh my gosh.
It's okay, baby. I am not feeling well. First, it starts to get really nice.
What? Montana? What are you doing? Montana?
You've looked at this mRNA technology. What is your opinion about the safety of the COVID vaccine that was injected into the entire world?
So my background is medical biochemistry and looking at metabolism, including RNA. In my 25 years of working on RNA, what we learned is that if you want to do anything with RNA, you shouldn't modify it, you shouldn't stabilize it, and you shouldn't inject it. So they did all of that. When they came out with this RNA idea, we kind of laughed at it because RNA has like a half-life of 2 hours, if it's not modified, not stabilized. So RNA, unless you modify it, you stabilize it, it's actually useless for anything.
They took something that is supposed to leave the body quickly and made it persist.
Exactly.
Why is that a problem?
It's a huge problem because RNA, you should look at it as the blueprint of your house. This is how your cells are translating into proteins, and those actually do the work. So if your blueprint is modified in the middle of the construction pattern, just give you an example, then it's going to be a disaster because it's not the same protein as you designed. Fragments can be formed, and this is the majority of spike proteins after modification of its RNA and injections. The biggest danger is because the template stays in the cell is reverse transcription, making DNA from RNA, and that's the source of aneuploidy, which we all know, physicians, it's more DNA in the cells that is necessary, and that's a cancerous, a transformed cell.
So you think this could end up causing cancer? We're hearing turbo cancers, autoimmune disease issues.
It has a huge impact. If you ask me as a medical biochemist, it's beyond a disaster.
Forlorn Dr. John Campbell breaks down the science behind the latest Moderna mRNA flu vaccine and asks, who the hell is in charge? Only a year ago, Secretary Kennedy said that they wouldn't be using mRNA for these shots because they just didn't work. And yet, this vaccine has been approved despite its own study showing many more systemic side effects and a 6.7% increase in serious side effects, all for a tiny 0.8% absolute risk reduction.
Lots and lots more systemic side effects in the mRNA group, for a relative risk reduction of 26.6% and an absolute risk reduction of 0.8%, according to the industry's, basically the industry's own figures, or the paper's own figures anyway. Let's be generous. 6.4 times more grade 3 adverse events in the mRNA group. I mean, given that information, are you going to be queuing up? I'm not. And we could talk for ages about the lipid nanoparticles and other complications. I'm just keeping this to what's in the paper. These lipid nanoparticles are going to be systemically distributed. Cells all around the body can potentially produce this hemagglutinin antigen. These cells can be recognised as foreign by the immune system, whether the infected cells are in the heart or the blood vessels to the brain or wherever it is, and be destroyed by the immune system. August 2025, just 1 year ago, Senator Robert F. Kennedy announced a coordinated wind-down of its mRNA vaccine development activities under the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. So Bobby Kennedy says, well, we're going to get rid of we're going to wind down these mRNA. We don't want this stuff, he seemed to be saying. We reviewed the science, listened to the experts and acted, Bobby Kennedy says. BARDA, that's the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, is terminating 22 vaccine development investments because the data shows these vaccines fail to protect effectively against upper respiratory infections like COVID and flu. And yet a year later, here we have it approved.
What?
Who's in charge here?
We know.
Kill them! Kill them all!
Is it not the HHS that's in charge, the Health and Human Services that are in charge? And their most senior, or the head of that service, didn't seem to want this, and yet here we have it. Very strange.
I guess Dr. Stella Emanuel was right all along.
You can report me to the board, you can kill me, you can do whatever, but I'm not going to let Americans die. And today I'm here to say it, that America, there is a cure for COVID. All this foolishness, does not need to happen. There is a cure for COVID. There is a cure for COVID. It's called hydroxychloroquine, it's called zinc, it's called Zitromax. And it is time for the grassroots to wake up and say, no, we're not going to take this any longer.
And everybody who defamed, ridiculed, and attacked this woman for standing up and speaking the truth and doing what's right, you should be ashamed.
I've got the studies right here. There was a website that was tracking the random controlled studies. Here they are, showing 60, 70% efficacy of ivermectin. The same day you say there's no evidence, there was all kinds of evidence. Loved ones had to go to hospitals, had to sue hospitals. Just, would you try it? So I would want to know, to what extent were you involved in sabotaging hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and did you do that because you knew the only way you get an emergency use authorization for these drugs, these experimental gene therapy, was if there was no effective treatment, you couldn't get the emergency use authorization. So is that why you helped sabotage these cheap generic drugs in favor of remdesivir, which, by the way, nurses, are you aware of the fact that nurses called it run, death is near?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment.
It's laughable. It says here, malaria drug chloroquine does not inhibit SARS-CoV-2. So this study came out this week, and this is in tissue culture. So I looked at the study, and I thought, that's interesting. I don't know what happened there, but let me look at it. So then I saw KLU3 lung cells. So they said, hey, it may work in kidney cells, but it doesn't work in lung cells. So in our evidence, yeah, it can work in vitro in kidney cells, but not in lung cells, right? So I thought, well, that's interesting. So I worked at MD Anderson. I was in ocular oncology, and I thought about it. I said, I've heard of that cell line before, KLU3 lung cell. It's an adenocarcinoma. It's a lung cancer cell. So I tweeted, I corresponded with the author, and I said, I am so happy for your study. You just showed one of the most amazing things that I've ever seen. I never thought I would see something so clear. You just proved that when virus is around and chloroquine is around, chloroquine will let the virus attack a cancer cell. I think about that. So it will protect a normal cell, but chloroquine will not protect a cancer cell because they're dedifferentiated, the receptors are different. I mean, think about that. So I told him back, I said, thank you. That's the you completely misinterpreted the data. And you hid the fact they hid it. They put it all the way down. As you know, you have to look for the data set. So I found it in the appendix in little letters, KLU3 lung cells. So this is the disinformation campaign that we are faced with. They put out a big thing and they said, oh, it doesn't work. They put it on Medical Express. That's it for chloroquine. It's unlikely to work against SARS-CoV-2. We just proved it. No, you proved chloroquine is one of the smartest drugs in history. It will let the viruses attack cancer cells, but not normal cells.
When somebody is naturally immune, like they got COVID, they probably have better, like not better, but more antibodies against the virus. Because what the vaccine is like I said, that protein that's just on the outside. So it's just one antibody against one specific part of the virus. When you actually get the virus, you're going to start producing antibodies against like multiple pieces of virus. And not only just like that outside portion, like the inside portion, the actual virus. So your antibodies are probably better at that point than the vaccination.
So I mean, well protected? Yeah. Like as much as the vaccine?
Probably more.
How so? Like how much more?
You're protected most likely for longer, since it was a natural response.
We're like bred and taught to be like vaccine is safer than actually getting COVID. You cannot like talk about this like in public. If you have antibodies built up, like you should be able to prove that you have those built up.
I mean, I still feel like I work for like an evil corporation. Basically, our organization is run on COVID money now.
Oh god, I signed NDAs against it.
Right, we're back in Oxford again. This is Chloe.
23rd of June 2022.
23rd of June 2022. This proves again that you've been chipped with a nanometer antenna.
What the?
Okay, so there again. It's no informed consent. Right, this is close with Morrison's. Alright, I won't get your face in it. But we've just done your sister, haven't we?
Yeah.
Just tried the magnet test on your sister. Doesn't stick to any part of the body except the injection site.
Son of a bitch!
I knew it.
I told you so.
So there you go. That proves it again that you are a victim of the nanometer antenna.
Don't be butthurt. You did it to yourself. Okay?
But we can help you.
Yeah.
All right, we can help you both.
Got to record this and not recording. Doesn't stick. But there. That's where he had the shot.
Surprise, motherfucker.
That's where he had the COVID shot.
Impossible. What, are you retarded?
Let's try it again. Won't stick. There. That's where he had the shot.
What is wrong with you people? Huh?
The magnet. This is the arm I got. The thighs are shot in. And there it is.
Come closer.
Stick into my arm. That's where I got the shot. And here's the magnet on the arm. I didn't get the shot. You go figure it out. We're chipped. We're all fucked.
Correct. Right, this is Jeff. We're back in Shipley again. This proves that he's been tagged chipped with the nanometer antenna. How many injections did you have? Can you remember? 3.
What the actual fuck were you thinking?
Right, what were they?
Don't know.
Pfizer, AstraZeneca, or Moderna?
I don't know.
Your thoughts?
What? Are you retarded?
Right, okay, so you don't... Well, we can find...
I can find out.
Yeah, we can find out through your medical records, yeah. All right, so look at it from that angle. It's impossible for a magnet... Let me get it right. It's impossible for a magnet to stick to the human skin. So that shows you've been chipped with a nanometer antenna. All right, so that's another one. I'll take it off, put it back on again. There you go.
Look at that.
All right, that's sticking.
The same thing happened to me.
That's what you call a neodymium magnet. So we're here with the other guys.
Yeah.
Right, and we've just tried it on Jeff, and it's working. So you can claim up to 120 grand for that. It's classed as medical battery.
Hey pal, you just blowing from Stupid Town?
In a weird way, it was almost like I had to sort of fool my mind into believing that it wasn't retarded.
If you've followed me, you'll know I over 30 years in research in the pharmaceutical industry and biotech. I trained in toxicology and I worked with colleagues designing experimental molecules that we hoped would become medicines. That gives me the credentials to stand, as it were, in the shoes of the designers of these vaccines and answer the question, what were you thinking when you made these design decisions? Now, you can go and watch any of my interviews, but I'll cut to the chase. And you may not believe it, but I am sure, not slightly, but sure, these materials were designed intentionally to harm, maim, and kill, and to reduce human fertility.
Can you say that again? Just the way you said it.
These materials were designed intentionally to harm, maim, and kill, and to reduce human fertility.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago.
That is my verdict. And I can stand it up. I will be in court, Supreme Court in Costa Rica very shortly, and I'll be using exactly this argument, but I will give the detail. That's the first point. So don't take these injectables. Don't take the next lot either. They will also be designed to harm you. All mRNA-based materials are dangerous. Don't take them.
Absolutely fucking not.
And it's very clear now that why on earth did they do this? I mean, I have no idea.
We know.
Kill them! Kill them all!
Because from the very beginning, these vaccines were not vaccines, particularly the ones that ended up after AstraZeneca with all the clots and they were shut down. But the messenger RNA vaccines of Pfizer and Moderna have caused unbelievable problems and damage to people, and I don't think we will ever really be able to get over that. I mean, the whole concept I challenged from day one. I said, right from the beginning, this virus escaped from the laboratory. It has 6 inserts that could only have been put in manually. My peers said, well, this can occur randomly. I said, no, once, but not 6 times. This has been interfered with. And the most important thing, we said that the vaccine was 80% homologous to humans, so it was bound to cause major side effects. Now, why did everybody go along with it?
We know.
Kill them! Kill them all!
I mean, we informed everybody, the government, through the Five Eyes process, that this would happen, but everybody ignored it. So why did this happen? And now we know that it's even worse than that the vaccines the quality control was appalling. They changed the mechanism of manufacture between the trial and the rollout to about 6 billion people. This thing was full of contaminants. It was full of sequences that can actually get into your genome. And my big concern is that a lot of them explain why that a couple of years into this epidemic, we still have massive excess deaths. Excess deaths in Australia, New Zealand, and everywhere. And a lot of these now are due to cancer. And that's basically what I want to discuss here. The red flags are so enormous. Why has the government not banned these vaccines immediately?
We know.
Kill them! Kill them all!
For a start, COVID doesn't exist anymore. And if it does, it doesn't kill anybody anymore. So why are you using vaccines, boosters that we now know increase the rate of cancer, and the cancers are appalling, they're turbo cancers.
We know.
Kill them! Kill them all!
Well, I mean, I think this is right. It was draconian, dystopian, and totally unnecessary. I mean, I've criticised our own Chief Medical Officer, Chris Whitty, and I'll use the words again, as a total moron. He basically wanted to vaccinate our children in order to protect their grandparents. So in that one sentence, he said he knew nothing about vaccines. You only vaccinate to protect somebody else. You do not vaccinate to protect other people. And by that sentence, he said, well, the vaccines didn't work because all the grandparents and parents had already been vaccinated. It was unbelievably stupid. No child died of COVID unless they had some underlying condition like leukemia. It was absolutely abhorrent that they would even think of this. And they were pushed into this by Pfizer and all the people that Pfizer and Moderna wanted to get this into absolutely everybody. These were not vaccines. These were horrible gene therapies that could actually integrate into your genome. And this is one of the reasons we're seeing this horrendous rise in turbo cancers. I'm terrified what they have done to our children. I think everybody who went along to that should actually stand up to trial, defend themselves and go to court. This is unbelievable, the incompetence, medical negligence, everything, and nobody is accepting responsibility for this. It is unbelievable case of cognitive dissonance, and I hold everybody to account. I hold the chief medical officers to account, the chief scientific officers to account, the so-called, in the UK we had SAGE, one of the most inappropriate acronyms ever. But, it is unbelievable what we had to. Now, I cannot believe the MHRA and the TGA and the FDA, the level of incompetence and negligence.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
And they have to be held. This is Nuremberg trial stuff. They are so awful. Now, we know about the contamination. Your TGA have stood up and said, oh, we've done this little study, that study, what have you, but it doesn't really matter because they're safe and effective. They started with the mandate that these vaccines were safe and effective. No, they were never, ever effective.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
I've looked at the first submissions of Pfizer to the FDA. There was no evidence that they were effective whatsoever. It was basically hope. And they were never, ever safe.
Well, no fucking shit.
The first mandate, the first submission of Pfizer showed that they caused every single side effect you could ever possibly want, and yet the FDA still approved them, and the TGA and the MHRA went along with it. This was absolute criminal negligence. Their job was to say, are they safe? Are they effective? No, they were not. And yet they signed off on it.
So let's start on this Operation Tala. And I mean, so interesting, of course. So the idea is that on the face of it looks great. Coordinated policy of enforcement, operational guidance across all of the UK. And this was to essentially manage the response to C-19. However, as we know, these things are almost never as they appear. This was a national command structure. So straight off the bat, we need to be aware that this is not a localized thing. This has not just happened in a borough or, in a county. This is all across the UK. And it came from the NPCC, which is the National Police Chiefs Council. Right, Kath, where would you like to start? Other than to say big shout out to the people involved, Ian Clayton from Ethical Approach, Solicitor Phil Highland and ex-cop Mark Sexton, who are also involved in this. Kath, take it away wherever you're most comfortable.
So thank you, Sonia. So back at the beginning of this year, I mean, I think we all picked up. We all knew very early on that people were trying to, I'm talking thousands, were trying to submit reports and witness statements and evidence to the police about potential crimes that were being committed in terms of the COVID response, but also very much the COVID jabs. And Ian Clayton, who has been the lead investigator throughout all of this, he's done an incredible job. He's just not stopped, and he's still going. There's still more we're unraveling as we go. And I think that's why in the summer it was a little difficult for us to disseminate, because we were still waiting for some key evidence. And now we've got that, we can move forward and go very much more public with it, because it was quite confusing. As Ian saw a video at the beginning of the year by a lady called Moira Brown, And it was her trying to submit evidence to police in Scotland. I think they were police constables in Scotland, and they let slip. One of them said, no, we cannot take this information, following a directive from Alan Spears, who at the time, Alan, I can't remember his exact position. I think he was Assistant Chief
Chief Constable Alan Spears of Police Scotland, ACC Alan Spears, who incidentally has since been given a King's Award. But that's I know you're that surprised, Kath. I know you're that surprised.
Sure.
Right, so the directive came from him, right?
The directive came from him, and it was basically a national rejection instruction, and it included no acceptance of vaccine-related harm complaints, no recording of such matters as crimes, redirections of complainants elsewhere. They'd send them off to the regulators and other people, which it's a crime. What are the regulators going to do with that? That's a police matter. And Spears stated very clearly, very explicitly, that this was on the advice of the NPCC and the Gold Command. And it was a national directive, however much they might try and put that down to being a localized decision. It wasn't. It was a national directive. And from our studies, we can see that it's come predominantly, it looks like the person who issued the overall directive is a gentleman called Martin Hewitt, who was the chief, if you like, Gold Commander of the NPCC. There's the delightful man. And just as an aside, Sonia, I was doing some digging, and guess what? Martin Hewitt is now UK Border Force Commander. Just to add to the joy, could you write it? Could you believe it?
I could write it because it's like fiction, isn't it? But it's fact, unfortunately. Yes, I got you, Kath. Got you.
So so Ian saw this video from Moira Brown and the police officer responding with, no, we cannot accept it, following a directive from Alan Spears, Assistant Chief Constable, Police Scotland. And having stumbled across this video, Ian very quite rightly picked up on it and started issuing FOIs out to get to the bottom of this. And he has spent months back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. You know what they like? They try and deter, they try and delay, they try and obfuscate. And he's just been like a terrier. He's just kept going, and hats off to him for doing so. So this FOI disclosure was the first documented evidence of this UK-wide suppression policy regarding vaccine-related crimes. And when they've tried to, like I say, when they've tried to deter that, and what happened was when the guys, as you quite rightly pointed out, Mark Sexton, Phil Hyland, Lois Bayliss, and Dr. Sam White went to Hammersmith, to the Metropolitan Police, they were able, thankfully, to generate a crime reference number. And I'll just give that to the public in case they want to check or they're not aware, which is 6029679/21.
Just repeat that again, please, Kath. Just repeat that again. Just repeat that again, please, Kath. Yep.
6029679/21. So this remained active and under review even after the directive had gone out about this blanket rejection. And it matters because it shows an internal contradiction, because what happened after that in the following weeks was where we know of over 400 attempted reports from a number of different people, witness statements, evidence. We're talking doctors and scientists who should be certainly considered leaders in their field. We're trying to submit this evidence and concerns about things from the jab to the principles of the lockdowns and so forth. And what was happening is, as time went on, the police were responding to the public saying, well, no, we've got this crime reference number. It's already under investigation. We don't need more evidence. We don't need your statements. We don't need. And they were turning the public away. They were refusing to take any evidence or information from the public. Now, under the statutory duties under the Criminal Procedure and Investigations Act of 1996, they're not allowed to do that. Now, this morning, very interestingly, during the night, Ian Clayton put out a report of a case study he was looking at that happened. And I just want to just read some of this out to the public. So it makes it very easy for them to understand what the police did and how awful that was. So there was a case in 1979 of R versus, and I'm going to say Dytham, Dytham. And it proved that the police cannot lawfully refuse to hear your crime report. So what happened was PC Dytham witnessed a violent assault that led to a man's death, and he did nothing. He didn't intervene. He didn't call for backup. He didn't report it. He just walked away. And the Court of Appeal ruled that this was a criminal offence because police officers have a public duty to receive reports of crimes and act on them to protect the public. And in failing to do so, especially deliberately, is misconduct in public office. And it proves that police are legally required to act when a crime is reported to them, and doing nothing is unlawful. And as we've seen from Operation Tallow, that equates to thousands of people trying to report crimes and give evidence concerning vaccines harm and the COVID-related policies and so forth. But instead of receiving these reports, officers were instructed not to take them, told not to issue crime numbers, ordered to reject vaccine-related evidence at the front desk, and in many cases they refused to even look at the material. And this isn't an isolated or accidental incident. This is on the back of the directive that came from the very top.
Let me just stop you there, because that's already it's mind-blowing. So we, and when I say we, I mean in a general term, but you all have evidence that not one of these crime reports was taken seriously.
Yeah.
Not one of them.
And they try to push people away with the CRN number that I've just previously quoted, stating that it was already being looked at and everything else. And eventually that crime number was shut down. They said there wasn't enough evidence to support it, etc. And in the meantime, they've turned away at least over, and we know it's far exceeding this, but in terms of us being able to document, over 400 other reports, witness statements and pieces of evidence, thousands of pieces of evidence.
Very significant. So going back to the NPCC, the idea of Operation Tallow was that they were coordinating advice, but that's not what you're saying. You're saying they were issuing orders. They were the directive, right? That's what you're saying.
They issued it out across the UK, blanket. And the thing that it boils down to is when we've investigated further, and by we, I mean fundamentally Ian Clayton, again, hats off to the chap.
Doing great job.
Related this further because he went back, he getting FOI responses. This is the beauty of this as well, Sonia. He has documented everything. Everything we are saying is evidenced. Everything we've got is currently open to the public to go and review. And there is more to come that's currently being worked on. So it doesn't just end here. But we are all about transparency. Let's face it, transparency has not been at the forefront over the last 5 years, and it's up to us to shine a light on the truth. So what Ian did from there was he ended up writing constitutional correspondence to the Lady Chief Justice Baroness Sue Carr, the Secretary of State for Justice David Lammy, the Ministry of Justice, the Chair of the Public Administration and Constitutional Affairs Committee Simon Hoare, and the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police Mark Rowley. And he raised concerns about the constitutional integrity and statutory compliance and so forth, and the misleading of the public. And he took it from a policing issue to a constitutional oversight view, and put these guys on notice. And unsurprisingly, we haven't heard back from them. But this now shows how cornered they are, because in response, even though not included in the email, the Home Office responded on behalf of the Ministry of Justice. And I'm just showing you this because it shows this is beyond police corruption. And came back and advised Ian Clayton to take his evidence of constitutional concerns as well as the police breaking the law to the Citizens Advice Bureau, which shows that they have seriously.
That's just ridiculous. Right. So the next thing that I just want to tackle, because I think this is the moment to do it, is the issue of freedom of information. Right. Now, the whole point about the Freedom of Information Act, which was introduced in 2000, was that it gives you some form of kind of transparency in a situation that is normally less than transparent. What happened in terms of the freedom of information around Operation Tallow?
So Ian was able to get this information initially, the information he found, through FOIs. But what was interesting was there are certain deadlines, there are certain limitations on time that people are allowed to respond within that. They pushed everything, they extended everything, they delayed everything. There's some that's not even been responded to, Sonia. Right. But it was because of his dog-like determination that he managed to start extracting information and had to keep rewording things, and they kept, deferring it off elsewhere. There was a lot of faffing about.
Right. And so, but also, didn't the MPCC also take charge of it, like gatekeep the freedom, that all freedom of information requests relating to coronavirus will be managed through the NPCC's Freedom of Information and Data Protection Unit, which again is very much putting it into like a narrow alleyway, isn't it? It's gatekeeping the situation. So that is contrary to the Freedom of Information Act of 2000. It shouldn't be just through one stream because that's not how it works. So again, interesting. So MPCC really right at the heart of this. So we shouldn't lose sight of that straight off the bat. Right, Kath, carry on. I just want to make sure that each step along the way, I've got it, because I want everybody to be absolutely clear what we are dealing with here. Okay, over to you.
So what Ian's done by getting this in front of the Lady Chief Justice and so forth, like I say, it's taken this from a purely just policing matter through to it being a constitutional crisis and our rights being completely removed from us and hidden. If it hadn't, all this Tala stuff, the public weren't made aware of until earlier this year. It was all very well on the surface of it, like you say, they're doing great stuff. They're organising a response to, we're here to protect the public, organising response. But you didn't really see anything out of this out in the public. It was only earlier this year that it was done and very quickly escalated to become a constitutional situation because through these FOIs, through this correspondence Ian's been having, it proves that not only were the police not serving the public as they should, nor were the judiciary, and in turn we now know the government. And I think personally this is my belief, it goes to the Cabinet Office and whoever dictates to the Cabinet Office.
And Priti Patel, I believe, was the Home Secretary at the time, and she was there at the awards when Tala received an award, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes, they gave themselves a huge pat on the back for all the awesome work that they did during COVID.
Wonderful, wonderful. So that's very serious. You're saying that implicated in this are police, are the judiciary and the government. This is huge, if true.
Worries about overpopulation are back.
We need to address much more aggressively the population part of the equation.
If we keep ignoring this exponential population rise, nature will reduce human population for us.
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
I'm trying to work out whether she is mentally retarded or just maliciously slow.
I came across articles that showed that the key thing you can do to reduce population growth is actually improve health.
After much research, I found a way that we could decrease our global population by 1.6 billion people in the next decade.
Bitch, are you dumb?
Pardon me?
Are you dumb?
I think she's dumb. I think she's dumb. Are you, like medically speaking?
First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
What the?
Can you say that again? Just the way you said it.
New vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Ah, you motherfucker!
We cannot hide away from human population growth because, it underlies so many of the other problems. All these things we talk about wouldn't be a problem if there was the size of population that there was 500 years ago.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
Yes! If you approach family planning right, it's something that's very, very important. And when it was considered politically incorrect to mention it, and I was determined to mention it, I decided to call it voluntary population optimization. So by the time people worked it out.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I mean, the population's going to have to stop growing at some point, so why not stop now? Instead of wishing that some invention or technology will save us that doesn't even exist yet and we're not even sure works. So for everyone to have quality of life, the number of humans on Earth needs to go down. And I believe that it needs to go down to 2 billion people.
I'm starting to think almost 98% of women are retarded.
The negative impact of population growth on all of our planetary ecosystems is becoming appallingly evident.
You're done? You are? Now, 11 billion people, still a lot, but the good news is that the faster we improve health, the faster family size goes down.
And lastly, let's be part of the solution and choose from now on to bring forth no more than one child ourselves. Thank you.
Absolute cunt.
By now, if you're fortunate enough to have 2 eyes set in front of a functional brain, which is in turn flanked by a set of working ears, you've figured out that the one thing the powers that be don't want you to notice is that they plan on murdering a few billion of us. The ruling elite have a hard-on for depopulation.
That's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
The thought of killing billions of what they call useless eaters makes their pussies wet.
Oh my god, that is so gross.
The most powerful weapon they have is the cognitive dissonance that occurs in the mind of someone who hears what you have just heard.
Meaning?
Because if it is true that the richest, most powerful people in the world are planning on killing billions of people in order to remake the world in their image, where the humans that are left are reduced to a slave class that exists only to serve the ruling elites.
Please! Please! No!
Then the entire American dream of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is a bunch of bullshit.
That's what the owners count on. The fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant of the big red, white, and blue dick that's being jammed up their assholes every day. Because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
I told you so.
And your personal dreams of settling down and raising a family, or of having a successful career, or of traveling the world, or of being an artist are equally empty and hollow.
These ain't opinions. These are facts.
This means that when you hear the truth about the depopulation agenda of the ruling elites...
Nope, nope, nope. Stop talking. Go to jail.
Your brain is offered the choice to accept this terrifying, painful truth.
Oh my God, stop talking.
Or to reject it as conspiracy theory and return to the ultimate comfort zone of living in denial.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Now, after seeing all that proof that the COVID vaccine was exactly what I said it was in May of 2020 when Operation Warp Speed was announced, that is, the Depop shot...
That's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
...designed to forward the ruling elite's agenda of depopulation, the cognitive dissonance of the uninitiated only has one out, which can be phrased as follows.
Okay, maybe the powers that be did try to murder millions of people with the COVID vaccine. But Hitler killed millions of people, so did Stalin, so did Mao, so did Pol Pot. Lots of tyrants have tried to kill millions of people, but they weren't all Satanists.
It's a pretty weak out, but let's address this last desperate attempt to live in denial of the fact that the richest, most powerful people in the world are Satanists.
Bombshell phone recordings from the final weeks of Amy Winehouse's life has surfaced. And they reveal that not only did she know the truth about Madeleine McCann, she was actively working on exposing the elite paedophile ring responsible for the heinous crime.
The things I've seen, Gemma, you wouldn't believe, nobody could. They took Madeleine McCann. I've seen the snuff film. I've seen their faces. And now they know I know.
Forget about the accidental overdose fairy tale the coroner sold you. Amy was clean, sober, sharp as a blade. And she was armed with the most dangerous weapon on earth. The truth about who really runs the world. In her final weeks, Amy was calling journalists, judges, the authorities, anyone with a backbone. She told them everything. The Podestas, the Epstein-Maxwell pipeline, the entertainment industry parties, where children are currency and silence is enforced by blackmail, bribery and buddies. 3 weeks later, she was dead. No investigation, no autopsy worth the name. Just a rushed verdict, a staged vodka bottle, and a world that shrugged and called it tragic. But the recording survived. Listen to the calls, hear the fury, and then ask yourself, who silenced Amy Winehouse? And how many other stars have been silenced for the same reason? These are Amy Winehouse's own words, captured in the final weeks of her life. And they paint a picture so disturbing, you'll question everything you thought you knew about the world. Let's start with the official story. Amy relapsed, drank herself into a coma, accidental death, case closed. Except her toxology reports don't match. Except her neighbours reported that she was sober for months. Except the coroner's inquest took less than an hour. No forensic examination, no deep dive. Just a rubber stamp and a closed file. Now ask yourself, when has a celebrity death ever been that clean? These tapes changed the timeline. In these recordings, Amy isn't slurring or stumbling. She's articulate, focused, terrified, but not for herself, for the world, for the children, for what Prince had entrusted her with, because in his words, Amy was a fearless and ferocious warrior in this war against evil. Here's the evidence the mainstream media won't touch. Prince had been gathering intelligence on the elite paedophile network for years. He wasn't just a musician, he was an archivist. He kept files, photographs, videos and names, all meticulously stored in his famous vaults. And he shared the most damaging piece with Amy, the Madeleine McCann material. Because in his words, this wasn't just a crime, it was the master key, the one that unlocks every door, that exposed the whole network. And Prince knew that if the world ever saw what he saw, the whole rotten empire would finally fall.
Jem, I'm not gonna lie, that tape f***ed me right up worse than any drug.
Amy saw disgusting footage of Madeleine McCann and John Podesta, screaming at her to call him Skippy, terrorising the young child, deliberately causing her body to release adrenochrome into her bloodstream, before bleeding her out and drinking the blood during a satanic ritual.
He kept screaming in her face, while the others... No, I just can't, Jem. Her eyes, I'll never forget them.
Let's be explicit about what that means. The footage Amy describes isn't grainy surveillance or blurry paparazzi shots. It's professional grade. A room, bright lights, a bed. Madeleine McCann, recognisable from every missing poster you've ever seen. Surrounded by men, Amy identified as John and Tony Podesta. Should we be surprised? The Podestas have been hiding in plain sight for years, protected by the system. Now back to Amy Winehouse. Here are the facts. The Podesta brothers were in Praia da Luz on May the 3rd, 2007, the day Madeleine vanished, staying at $1 million chateau just 1/3 of a mile from the crime scene. The chateau was owned by their close friend Clement Freud, grandson of Sigmund Freud. Like most of their friends, Clement just so happened to be a convicted paedophile. And here's the part that will make your blood run cold. The police sketches, they match. There was a third police sketch too. A woman who was believed to be travelling with the two men. A woman who strongly resembles the Podesta's friend Ghislaine Maxwell, the world's most notorious child trafficker, who just so happened to help Jeffrey Epstein set up the Clinton Global Initiative and Clinton Foundation, the same organisation that employed John Podesta at the time.
Well, one thing that's fascinating is she point blank tells the Justice Department, quote, "I was part of the beginning process of the Clinton Global Initiative." And then she goes on to say that she believes Jeffrey Epstein actually funded the Clinton Global Initiative and that they came up with the idea together while on a trip to Davos. Now, we know that this lines up with the exact start of the Clinton Foundation.
You couldn't make this up if you tried. And yet, somehow the perpetrators have not been brought to justice. Somehow the Podesta brothers have never even faced questioning. If this isn't proof the system is rigged, and that satanic paedophiles rule the world,
I told you so.
I'm not sure what is, but other people are waking up and demanding justice, which is why John Podesta trembles in fear and melts down whenever Pizzagate is mentioned.
And I am sick of I have been, my family and I have been put through this Pizzagate bullshit for a year, which has been totally debunked, by the way.
He's wrong. It hasn't been debunked. On the contrary, evidence continues to mount. And when you hear the evidence Prince showed to Amy Winehouse, everything will come into focus. And you'll understand why the elite paedophile ring has to kill people to stay in control.
I said, listen, Prince, mate, I'm going to make sure the world finds out. Alright? I don't care if they kill me. They have to kill both of us, innit?
What Prince didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was just how ruthless they truly are. He didn't realise they would ritually slaughter the world's most loved performers, one after the other, to protect the paedophiles caught up in their blackmail operations. From Michael Jackson to Chester Bennington to Avicii and Anne Heche, the elite paedophile ring has been protected with vicious efficiency. This is the machine Amy stumbled into, a network that doesn't hesitate, that doesn't leave witnesses, that protects its own with vicious efficiency, whether you're a pop star or a little girl in Portugal. And coming up next, you're about to hear what Amy saw that made her a target. Picture this. Amy Winehouse, clean from heroin, off the booze, finally healthy, finally happy. And she's sitting on the nuclear codes of global corruption. The names, the footage, the proof that a clean-up crew is systematically eliminating famous names who threaten their blackmail empire of compromised paedophiles.
Prince told me he knew they killed Michael. Said Michael was going to blow the whole thing open. The Neverland stuff was all set up to discredit him. And when he wouldn't back down, they pumped him full of propofol and made it look like an accident. Prince said they'd do the same to him.
That's what we're dealing with here. And despite John Podesta's claims that Pizzagate has been debunked, investigations have proven that paedophiles use all the code words that Podesta himself was using in his emails. The Podesta emails remain the gold standard for proving the existence of a paedophile ring operating in the highest corridors of power.
I went through each post and I started to notice there was even children that were offering to sell their body to these older individuals. They're using some terminology here, a lot of things being brought up about pizza and cooking and this and that and CP. A lot of them are acronyms for child pornography. Cheese pizza would be CP. When they talk about another group, they're talking about another Telegram group. And to join that group, you have to send child pornography to another user, like one of the moderators, I believe it was, and then they would invite you. So it's kind of like proving you're not a police officer.
Years before WikiLeaks leaked Podesta's emails, and before I published the bombshell report proving his emails contained FBI paedophile code words, Andrew Breitbart went on record asking, "What's in your closet, John Podesta?"
Fuck you, John Podesta.
All right, well, you see where I'm coming from.
Okay, yeah.
When I talk, that's because I'm interested in this ongoing whatever the hell they're doing.
What's in your closet, John Podesta?
Whatever the hell they're doing. What's in your closet, John Podesta?
Big Podesta? Big Soros? Do you want us to play these games? Because we're playing to win.
Breitbart was found dead of an alleged heart attack shortly after. But the questions he raised didn't go away. And when Amy saw the snuff film, she stumbled on the answer to what was in Podesta's closet. She started calling journalists, got nowhere. Started calling politicians, and got hung up on. Started calling anyone who'd listen. And that's when the threats began. The recordings capture it. The veiled warnings. The friendly visits from people who weren't friends. The sudden appearance of a new doctor prescribing medication she never asked for. The strange car that sat outside her Camden flat for 3 days.
Jim, they're watching me. I know it sounds mad, but there's this car been sitting outside my flat for 3 days now. Same one. Never moves. And yesterday, this new doctor shows up. Yeah? Never met him before. Says he's been sent to check on me. Starts talking about some new medication I never asked for. I told him to piss off.
Amy knew she was marked. When a famous name puts their head above the parapet and takes on the elite paedophile ring, there's a price. And the collectors don't wear suits. They carry credentials from the most ruthless intelligence agency on Earth. Because, here's the part they don't tell you. The blackmail archives gathered by Epstein and Maxwell weren't just for parties and favours. They were Israel's nuclear option, leverage over every powerful figure in the West, including the Podestas and Clintons. And when someone threatens that archive, when someone like Amy Winehouse gets too close, Mossad doesn't negotiate. They neutralise. Watch as legendary Mossad assassin Yuval Aviv clams up on the Epstein footage.
Like, that's not the real evidence. The real evidence is on the hard drives, because there's survivors, there's girls that were there that testified that he had rooms as big as this room right now that were filled with servers and computers and monitors that were recording all that footage that he had, not only on the island, but in New York, the Zorro Ranch, everywhere.
On a plane, the plane was rigged and everywhere.
Where's all that footage?
I can't tell you.
Really?
Yeah.
Can I guess?
No, please don't. Not now. Don't guess now. So that's why I said the days.
Let me ask you this:
the day it will come out is important. It has to be the right time, the right day.
Let me ask you this. I'm sorry to put a legendary Mossad assassin on the hot seat. But if I was to guess, do you think I would guess right?
Probably. That's why we shouldn't talk about it right now.
All right. That's all I needed to know.
On July the 23rd, Amy was found dead in her home. Empty vodka bottles staged around her. A toxology report that somehow finds alcohol in her system, despite witnesses swearing she'd been dry for months. No autopsy worth the name, no investigation, no questions. Just a funeral, a tribute, and a legacy reduced to a troubled artist. But the tapes survived. Her friend, the one she'd sent the recordings to for safekeeping, kept them hidden for 15 years. Why now? Because the statute of limitations on the cover-up doesn't expire. Because the Podestas are still walking free. Because Madeleine McCann is still missing. And because someone needs to say what the coroner wouldn't. Amy Winehouse was murdered by the machine that took Madeleine. The same machine that protected Prince's killers when he conveniently overdosed on painkillers in 2016, right as he was preparing to go public. Coincidence? There are no coincidences in this world. Not when children are currency. Not when the elite play snuff films for sport.
Cut. Brothers, free men of the world, I freely offer you this who you really are reminder mantra. Calling all free men of the West, the only way to save ourselves from the dystopian satanic nightmare of Loosh Farm Planet Earth 2.0 is to rise up now, to rise up in consciousness, from fear to love, and so awaken the non-dual truth of God's presence, bringing heaven to earth in the second coming of Christ consciousness.
Who the fuck starts a conversation like that?
This is the truth that is always true.
That's the way you want to put it.
Well, I don't have some way to put it. That's the way it is.
By saying it both silently in your head, as often as you remember,
that is not going to happen,
and saying it out loud,
what?
As often as you have the courage to master.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
Low class.
You will slowly or quickly remember who you really are.
Okay, I'm recusing myself from this situation. Thank you very much.
This is the truth that is always true. All I am ever doing and all I have ever done is extend God's love.
That's right, I said it!
Really?
All I am ever doing, all I have ever done is extend God's love.
That's right, I said it!
All I am ever doing, all I have ever done is extend God's love.
That's right, I said it!
Oh, I see.
What did I just see? What did I just see?
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.